Okay, just like to go over some things about the Nikon ED82a. Bought this scope first and foremostly because I'm a bird watcher, and that's what I wanted to do. I spend a lot of time just looking for birds and nature outside. And this this for me was in the right price range. You're paying about €1,000 for the body, and then 250 to 300 euros for the eyepieces. So 1,250, 1,300 euros. You compare that to the Kawas, the Promenades, they're 2,500, 2,600, and the same for the Swarovski ATX and ATXs. They're top of the range stuff. So this is roughly half the price of the good scopes. So big respect for it as regards to that. One downside of this scope is the weight. It's just very heavy. It is very heavy, so you need a very sturdy head and very sturdy legs. I'm replacing this head because it's proven to still be a little bit on the wobbly side. Okay, the first camera I used for digiscoping was the Nikon P300. It's a very lightweight camera, very fast frame rate, very good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I bought the FSB 8, I think this one's called. And this is now deceased, essentially. This collar is made from a very strong alloy. It's really smooth going on and off. The eyepiece, there's a nice recess here, so you get no sun effects, no leakage from the sun, things like that. It's very good. But the plate at the back where the camera was actually attached to, is made from a very lightweight alloy, and it seemed to bend. Even just putting it in your bag and carrying it around, if you put your bag on the floor or you're a bit rough with it, it seemed to bend. And I found that I was unable to match the camera lens to the objective, to the ocular lens here, and I was getting all kinds of artifacts and things. Yeah, so that was gone. That was first attempt at that. And as soon as that one died, I then created this from the fastening screw at the bottom. This is just some plastic bottles and tape. Effectively, it fits on very tight. Once it's on, it's staying on for the day, more or less. And this cost about 25 cents to make, and I get no artifacts at all when using this, or obviously the collar here and stuff. So much respect to people who actually make their own adapters. It's very much worth it a lot of the time. That was really good. I then moved on to this because I wanted to change the camera I was using. This is the FSB U1. This was designed with observation and photo taking at the same time in mind. They designed it so that you can fix it to the scope, and then you unscrew this bolt here and the camera swings to the side, allowing continued viewing. Yes, there we go, now it's attached. My issues with this camera, with this adapter, I think if you're using the P300, I think it's probably going to be really good. If you're using any of the smaller cameras, I think it's also going to be pretty good. As soon as you move on to the V1 though, this is no longer a viable option for the following reasons. This in itself is quite heavy. The V1 is also quite heavy. It's got a big heavy duty battery in it. So you're adding a lot of weight, and due to the length of the lens, you have to extend this back, the attachment plate all the way to the back here, and the screw has to come all the way back here as well, and you're not always centre. Also, because you're opening and closing this all the time, the fastening screws that fix the height of the plate also tend to move slightly, so you have to adjust that. So what you're contending with is getting the correct depth, forwards and backwards effectively, making sure it's on the right plane, left and right, and also up and down, which just wasn't working out very well at all. The other thing I will say is that after a lot of use, the hinges, which allow the device to swing, open and close, also tend to wear a little bit, so what you end up with is just play in the plate. This is exaggerated because I've unscrewed everything now, but this is quite exaggerated, but you can see there what's going on. This arm here is designed with a a release cable in mind. It's also of no use if you're using the V1 because it's just not long enough. It's nowhere near long enough, in fact, for the V1. I use the 10 to 30 millimeter lens. It's possible that it works with the pancake lens, but I haven't tried that. I also have no idea as to the extent of vignetting that you're going to get with the pancake lens, but I would like to try it at some point, definitely. Okay, so that's the FSB U1. It's a nice plate in itself, but if you're using the V1, don't bother. Really don't bother. Nikon currently have two new adapters on the market designed for these lenses and for the EDG lenses. One is sort of similar contraption to this, mounting at the back, goes on but with no swing, so it looks quite solid, and a cable release thing. I imagine that's probably going to hit the market for about €300. There's also an adapter which will go on here and then has the Nikon patented F bayonet fitting, and that gives you an equivalent of 1400mm lens through this or the EDG lens. It's slightly more, I think, with the EDG lens because it's a 85mm lens. Yeah, so that's nice. But the solution I came up with, this is the cheapest option I came up with, is the FSA adapter. You can find these on eBay and Amazon, places like this. I paid £7 for this, so that's something like €11, I think, and then I paid about the same for postage and packaging, sadly enough, so €20. And then there's a company called Photodiox, which you can also find easily on eBay, and you purchase yourself a step ring. This is a 40.5 to 58mm step ring, and what this allows you to do, sorry, I'm going ahead of myself. The FSA unit comprises of 3 parts: FSA 1, FSA 2 and the FSA 3. And essentially the FSA 3 is a ring that fits on here, screws on with a thread, and this allows you to attach your filter ring. And then there's the filter ring, and they attach like this. And it goes straight on. This gives you a very close fitting with the front of the Nikon V1. It's very strong and it's very quick, easy. There's just no parts to go wrong. It's pure screw on and in. And you can, if I just get the Nikon one, just make sure you don't cross thread it. That's the one thing you have to really take care of. Easier said than done. There we go. Once it's on, it's good and tight. You just hand tight, don't maul it, obviously. And then it slides on. And this can then live on your camera, more or less, in your bag when you're out and about. So that's basically what I do. I just leave it on whilst I'm out and about. You can't put the lens cap on anymore, but you can cover it up in your bag with something just to keep it clean. And this is, I find this to be by far the cheapest, easiest and quickest adapter for this system at the moment. Okay, I hope that was some help. Cheers.